So we're at the GRENKE Chess Classic in Baden-Baden. This is the second round here in Baden-Baden, round 5. Do a recap again with Grandmaster Peter Leko. And we saw 5 draws today, but we saw some very exciting draws. We have a very interesting position here on the board, Meier against Carlsen. Can you tell me what's going on here at the moment here on the board?
Yeah, and first let me also start with when we did the recap with Jan at the end of the day, and he told me there were 5 draws. I just couldn't believe my ears, because I mean, the whole day was full of so much action and so much excitement. Basically, this is what I mean when I say that I don't really care about the result. I want to see such games, and if we have such fascinating games, then if it's draw, it's draw.
Yeah.
And yes, here we had an incredible dramatic moment between Georg Meier and Magnus Carlsen, because everything got out of control exactly in the moment when both players were down to their last minutes. And that's why things got completely out of control, and probably those watching with engines and seeing all these high jumps of evaluation by the computer, so that, wow, what is happening? But being a chess player, being a good chess player, I feel that more or less what happened is explainable. So let's see what happened. This is the moment when Black's last move had been bishop b7 to e8. I mean, earlier on, Magnus was taking quite some risks in order to try to have also good winning chances, I mean counter chances. By doing so, he however burned the bridges behind him, and now in the time trouble phase, Georg Meier, who had played very precise moves in the last 10 moves, and he had fought back Magnus's initiative, is now in the attack with rook g5. However, while commenting live, once we spotted rook h6 with the idea meeting queen takes a7, which is of course the normal way Black wants to play, with bishop g4, a beautiful idea, because okay, bishop e6 check is a threat and mates are coming. For example, queen e7, bishop e6 check, king h8, and now part of rook takes h7 just doubling with rook h1 leads to mate. So basically, this would have probably been the more practical way in time trouble, because here there is not so much calculation, but you have to spot this bishop g4, which is slightly tricky to see, that after rook takes g4, queen e6 check exactly checks that way that you take back the rook, and there is no compensation for it. The point probably why Georg had missed this, because he had seen the other very strong move, rook g5, and his attention was lured to this move. And by having just very little time on the clock, you already don't have the luxury to compare all those moves, so you go with your instincts. Rook g5 looks perfectly fine. As Magnus confessed after the game, after queen takes a7, he had missed this bishop g4 idea, because all of a sudden it looks that the position is dangerous, but that it gets completely so much out of control is highly surprising. Black's main problem is that his move king h8 is kind of forced, because rook takes g5 would be met by the intermediate move bishop e6 check, white winning material. So therefore Black has to play king h8, and here is the moment while commenting live the game without an engine, I felt that rook h6 would have been more practical, because now with little time suddenly you notice that Black has an idea of playing queen e7 with a very important tempo, trying to exchange the queens, and those forcing white to exchange something or to take on g7 when you immediately feel that there is no danger anymore for Black. And while at the same time engines were screaming here already that it's kind of +5, +6, things are completely out of control, with different moves like rook h5 or rook h1. One of the key lines, let's show step by step. For example, rook h1 clearly is met by queen e7, and now you feel that only drastic measures can help. So rook takes h7 check, you start to calculate. King takes h7, rook h5 check is coming. When black has two moves, of course, okay, after king g8, bishop e6 check, you feel that there should be something, but imagine you have just few seconds on your clock and you reach this position in your calculation. As told by the players after the game, they both reach this moment. And okay, if you have 2-3 minutes on your clock and you are calculating quietly, then of course finally you spot this beautiful move, rook h6. But in all this tension, and king takes h6 leads to this beautiful mate with queen h5 checkmate. And after king f7, you have many options, but basically queen h5 check, okay, it's just over.
Yeah.
So the key move is rook h6, but if you don't spot rook h6, you just feel like that you can't play rook h1. There is no way back. Yeah, it's and you see your time is ticking down. You really feel that there should be something, and then it comes that actually computer even shows that no, this is not the only way. You could play even rook h5, which is completely insane. I mean, the rook on g5 is doing an extremely important job. So the line with rook h1 and precise calculation and time on the clock is understandable, but rook is on f1. If you really want to spot this rook h5 win, then you have to have tons of time. And the line, the computer point after rook h5 is that after queen e7, which again seems to be leading towards the defense, white plays bishop e6, and here computer screams that it's over. Then you start asking yourself, yeah, of course I understand that white is threatening to play rook h1 and rook takes h7. A part of also here rook takes h7 is already a threat with the same queen h5 checkmate, but why not queen f6, which stops all of this? And then comes the brutal kill with rook f5, with the idea that after queen takes e5, after rook takes f8 check, suddenly it turns out that rook g8, rook takes g8 is checkmate. One can argue that by knowing these lines, they don't really look that difficult, but believe me, when you have so little time and the position just got out of control right in the time trouble phase, you are still not completely in. It's not everything came logically. Then and you need to find all this very precise calculation. It can just happen, and it did happen. So finally, in the position after king h8, bishop g4, king h8, Georg looked at his clock. He saw, we didn't exactly see, but he was already less than 10 seconds. He has to make a move, and he doesn't know what to do. So he pulled the emergency brake and played rook a1, which he knew that basically guarantees safety. It's a very big missed golden opportunity, because you can ask when do you get such a chance of winning a game against the world champion? Just one right decision, and then spotting maybe after rook h1, or Magnus would spend some time, hesitate, because in the meanwhile he would also spot the win. Then you automatically get some time to adjust to the situation, and you find it. But like it happened after rook a1, queen e7, white was forced to change the queens, and after that it was absolutely logical that the game ends in... in fact they exchanged on g7, but this already doesn't mean anything. It's just takes, king g7, rook takes a4, bishop c6, and kind of rook a6. The players agreed to a draw. So a highly dramatic time trouble phase. Yeah, this is chess.
Fantastic for the tactic fans and for the tactic books for I think these positions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that while watching the game you get really excited, because there are so many tactics and so many fascinating lines, as a player in this time trouble phase, usually you prefer some calmer situation where you know what is happening, because here there was a win, and if really both players would have had 5 minutes on the clock, they would have surely navigate through all these complications. But with first of all, like 1 minute, and then once you start calculating, then the seconds are ticking down, then anything can happen.
Yeah. Okay, Georg Meier was not was surprised about all these winning possibilities, but he wasn't too down, I think. After the game, he said, okay, I missed a chance, but not the end of the world.
Yeah, definitely not the end of the world. First of all, it was a very interesting strategical fight. Of course, also thanks to Magnus, because Magnus was provoking the situation, but already during the live show I was saying that I feel like Georg is not the right person to be provoked in such way, because once he has his structure and he feels familiar with the position, then he can be extremely precise and very, very strong. And I think Magnus tried very hard to get the initiative with all this kingside attack and everything, but Georg played this rook cg1, which was praised by Magnus also a lot, and in that phase Georg did play perfectly, and also Magnus knew that his bishop a6, which was a brilliant idea, did not quite work exactly for the reason what Georg also found. So it was a high-level chess.
We saw another dramatic game today, Naidic against Bluebaum. He was also very close to winning, I think, Arkady Naidic, in his very optimistic style again. What can we say about that game?
Well, basically that's quite shocking for me still, that Arkady didn't win that game, and I think he can't really understand how it happened, because if you show him this position, he will tell you that, okay, from 1,000 times I will win 1,000 times for sure this position. Somehow, right immediately after the opening, when he went for this g4, rook g1, g4 plan, Matthias just panicked. I mean, this e6, e5 move is strategically a very committal move. I think also practically a very, very bad reaction. And also it felt like Matthias didn't believe himself in this e5, because he played it after long thoughts, then also he followed up by long thought, and his position was a disaster. Then suddenly, maybe at some point, because Arkady took it too lightly, he probably couldn't believe that his position is not winning, because it really gives this impression. However, the computers were not that sure that it is so bad, but I feel that Matthias thought that it's bad and Arkady thought that it's very bad. So then all this body language, this whole feeling that when you feel that your opponent thinks that he is much better, it automatically influences you. And then there was a golden opportunity for Matthias after White had played bishop c3, queen b2, which turns out to be slightly careless. Black could have played b5, as Rustam Kasimjanov, who joined our live show, pointed out, who happened to see this position with the engine. And after c takes b5, knight f6, things could have had a turn, and position would have been completely out of control. But after bishop takes d3, which was again, I think, a panic reaction by Matthias, he was just down to 5 minutes on the clock for 21 moves. It looked like White has all the possibilities in the world to win. Then Arkady decided to finish the game in style with rook takes g7, rook sacrifice, which maybe wasn't the most practical choice. But as a player, I can hardly blame him, because you really feel like when you have already created such a game, you want to finish it in style. It forced Matthias to find only moves, which he, however, did even in time pressure. And when the time trouble was on, we got a very, very special position, because it was 3 pawns and bishop pair versus rook and knight for the exchange. I mean, usually almost in every scenario this is an elemental win, and that's what I expect. That Arkady also thought, okay, I wanted to make the guy spectacular, it didn't work, but okay, now this is just very easy. And he still had like 5 or 6 moves to make in the time control. and probably he just played a little bit lightly, thinking that this automatically will be a win. And all of a sudden, when black was able to activate his rook with rook g8, rook g1 check, rook b1, and all of a sudden, black got real drawing chances, and by a miracle then he escaped. So I feel really pity for Arkady, because he was in the driver's seat for the whole game. But finally also incredible save by Matthias, because when he had a chance to defend, he used it, and survived by a miracle.
Yeah. So we saw 2 very exciting draws and 3 other draws which were more quiet, more balanced, I think. Any highlights in those games?
Yeah, more quiet, but I felt that those games, especially the one between Aronyan game also, but Anand versus Caruana, it was extremely interesting, and also very wild middle game phase, which finally ended with a logical liquidation, because otherwise white could have tried something, but black would have gotten very good practical counterplay. So it was natural for Vichy to go for this d6 idea, which led to a draw. Also there was this fascinating game between Vasily Lagraf and Aronyan, where Aronyan, I think, missed this wonderful shot with knight takes e6, because we saw the live stream, the video. I mean, he was completely shocked, but luckily for him, there was this complicated line which he then found, and was able to navigate to a draw. And that was also very, very good. In the game between Huifan versus Vityugov, it was kind of a theoretical battle. Vityugov seemed to have been better prepared, solved more or less all the problems, and Huifan tried something, but didn't really got any chances.
So the tournament is still completely open. So after 5 rounds now, so still a lot of exciting chess coming up, probably.
Yeah, looking forward to those games.
Okay, me too. Thank you very much, Peter Leko.
Yeah,
See you
thanks.
tomorrow. What do you want?